The engine cut out halfway through the intersection. Sarah's heart dropped as the honk behind her dragged her back to reality. She slammed the hazard lights, rolled down her window, and raised a trembling hand in apology. Cars swerved around her, drivers shouting, but she just sat there, gripping the wheel like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. It was 8:12 a.m. on a Tuesday. Her 2004 Honda Civic, held together with duct tape and monthly prayers, had finally given out. She hadn't even made it to the freeway yet. And now, in the middle of a busy Atlanta street, it felt like the world had come to collect its debt all at once. She rested her forehead on the steering wheel. Another honk, another day starting in disaster. It had been exactly 24 hours since her boss told her the company was restructuring and that her position was being eliminated, but that they truly valued her time and commitment. 4 years of effort gone with a 15-minute HR meeting and a box of her things. The worst part, she hadn't even told anyone, not her mom, not her best friend, Rachel. Not even Jordan, her ex, who still texted her every Sunday asking if she was okay. She wasn't, not even close. Come on, she muttered, turning the key again. Nothing. She looked at the photo taped to her dashboard, her and her dad at Lake Lanier when she was 12. His arm draped around her shoulder, both of them grinning, sunburned, soaked in laughter. He used to say, "Sarah, storms don't last forever, but you gotta move your feet or you'll drown standing still." She hadn't moved her feet in a long time. A tap on the window startled her. "Hey, you all right?" A guy in a delivery van leaned down, genuine concern in his eyes. She nodded, then immediately shook her head. "Car died. You want me to help push it out of the way?" Sarah stepped out, embarrassed. Her hands were shaking as they pushed the car to the curb. As traffic moved on and the world resumed its rhythm, she stood there, watching cars blur past. She felt invisible. "Take care," the guy said before driving off. No questions, no judgment. The silence after he left was deafening. Sarah sat on the curb, knees pulled to her chest, eyes stinging. She was 32, jobless, broke, and alone in a city that never slowed down for anyone. And yet, in that moment, as the wind carried the smell of warm asphalt and exhaust, something flickered in her chest. Not hope, not yet, but space. And maybe finally, a beginning. Because when there's nothing left to lose, there's room to focus on the one thing that matters: you. By the time Sarah got home, the adrenaline had worn off. Her apartment smelled like burnt coffee and missed opportunities. The sunlight streaming through the half-open blinds cast long, tired shadows across the hardwood floor. She dropped her keys on the counter and stared at the fridge. There it was, the list, scribbled in blue Sharpie on a piece of paper she'd stuck up months ago. Goals before 35. The handwriting looked different now, naive, hopeful, like someone else had written it. Pay off credit cards, start my own consulting gig, run a half marathon. Meditate every day. Get out of Atlanta, just for a little while. She scoffed. The only thing she'd achieved was meditating out of sheer survival. Not by choice, but because she couldn't afford distractions. She ripped the paper down and held it in her hand for a moment before crumpling it, then paused. Instead, she smoothed it back out on the counter. Maybe it wasn't time to destroy the list. Maybe it was time to rewrite it. She grabbed a pen. 1. Learn to be alone without falling apart. That felt honest. 2. Accept help without guilt. Tears welled up in her eyes as she scribbled the rest. Wake up early. For me, start over without shame. Figure out what I actually want. Her phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. Rachel. Happy Taco Tuesday, you hermit. Drinks tonight? Sarah stared at it. She hadn't been out in 2 weeks. She hadn't told Rachel about the job, the money, the car. She kept pretending everything was just busy, but she was tired of pretending. "Sarah, can we just walk somewhere? No makeup, no fake smiles, just talk." The reply came quickly. Rachel. "Yes, X1000, Piedmont Park, 6. Sarah smiled. The first real one in days. She walked to the bathroom. looked at herself in the mirror. Dark circles, chapped lips, worn-out eyes. But behind all that, something real, not broken, just between chapters. She took off her jacket and let her shoulders drop. This wasn't rock bottom, not really. It was the space right after the fall and right before the climb. It was the pause, the inhale before the decision. She walked back into the kitchen and placed the new list on the fridge, taped it carefully. Then she did something she hadn't done in a long time. She made herself breakfast. Not just a rushed granola bar, actual eggs, toast and coffee that didn't taste like burnt resentment. And while she ate, she looked out the window at the street below, busy, messy, real. She wasn't ready for everything, but she was ready for something. The spring breeze drifted across the lawn of Piedmont Park, carrying with it the scent of freshly cut grass and food truck tacos. Sarah sat cross-legged under a towering oak tree, watching joggers pass and dogs chase frisbees. It was almost 6 p.m., and the city felt like it was exhaling. She clutched her hoodie tighter, nerves jangling under her skin. What if Rachel asked too many questions? What if she cried in public? But when Rachel finally appeared, oversized sunglasses, sneakers, and 2 iced teas in hand, it wasn't judgment she brought. It was space and comfort, like always. Chamomile and lemon, because you need it, Rachel said, handing her a drink as she plopped down beside her. Sarah smiled weakly. Thanks. I didn't drive here. Rachel raised an eyebrow but didn't press. We can walk back, no rush. There was silence between them, but the good kind, the kind that feels like a pause in music rather than a missed beat. After a few minutes, Rachel finally said, "So, wanna tell me why you look like you've been through a mini apocalypse?" Sarah took a long sip of tea. Then, I got laid off. Rachel turned toward her, brows lifted, but again, no explosion of pity, just presence. Damn, when? Yesterday, and my car died this morning, so yeah, kind of a highlight reel. Rachel let out a low whistle. You've had a week in 2 days. Exactly. They sat in silence again, the sounds of the park filling in the gaps. Laughter, a skateboard clattering, wind in the trees. Sarah finally added, I've been pretending I was fine for so long, I forgot how to be honest. Rachel nudged her knee gently. You're allowed to fall apart, you know. No one's handing out awards for pretending. Sarah's throat tightened. She blinked up at the leaves. I thought I'd have more figured out by now. 32 feels like I should be doing more than just surviving. Rachel nodded. Or maybe 32 is the year you stop surviving and start becoming. The words hit Sarah like a slow sunrise. Start becoming. She hadn't thought of it that way. She reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a folded copy of the new list. I rewrote my goals, she said. They're different now. Rachel read them slowly, then smiled. These are good. They're real. Number 5 is my favorite. Sarah laughed. Figure out what I actually want. Yep, that one's gonna take a while. But you don't have to do it alone. They stayed until the sun dipped behind the midtown skyline, painting the park in soft orange and gold. As they stood to leave, Rachel looped her arm through Sarah's. One step at a time, she said. Sarah nodded. Yeah, one step. That's all I've got right now. That's all you need. The next morning, Sarah sat at the tiny kitchen table with her laptop open, half-eaten toast on one side, a rapidly cooling mug of coffee on the other. She stared at the blinking cursor in the Craigslist gigs section. Dog walking, data entry, event help. None of it was what she wanted to do. But right now, the goal wasn't dream job. It was survive with dignity. She clicked on a listing for a part-time virtual assistant position. Flexible hours, remote work, $18 an hour. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. It wasn't consulting, it wasn't her field, but it was something. She submitted her info, exhaled, then opened a blank document. Title, What I Actually Want. The cursor blinked, waiting. She typed, I want to wake up and not dread the day. I want to do work that feels useful. I want quiet mornings. I want to be free from needing anyone's approval. I want to build something that's mine. She paused, then added, I want to feel proud of myself again. Her phone buzzed. Unknown. Hey, it's Malcolm. I got your number from Rachel. She said you used to do consulting. I could use some help with my small biz setup. Got time to chat? Sarah blinked. Malcolm. She vaguely remembered him from Rachel's birthday dinner months ago. Quiet, thoughtful, ran some kind of local clothing brand. She hadn't thought much of him then. Her fingers moved before she could overthink. Sarah. Hi, Malcolm. Yes, I have time this week. Happy to talk. She stared at the message after sending it, pulse quickening. Was this it? A thread? A door? It felt small, but important. She took a sip of coffee. Cold. Still, she smiled. Progress. She spent the rest of the morning revising her resume, combing through old client emails, organizing files she hadn't touched in a year. By noon, she was exhausted, but a good kind of tired. The kind that came from moving, not spiraling. Later, she walked down to the corner cafe, not because she needed more caffeine, but because she needed to be around people, to remember what life outside survival mode looked like. She brought a notebook, no laptop, just pen, paper, and a deep breath. She wrote, "Today wasn't perfect, but I showed up. For myself, for my future. And that counts." The barista called her name. Sarah. She grabbed her drink, found a sunny spot by the window, and watched the city move around her. Strangers on phones, kids with backpacks, an old man feeding pigeons with slow, careful hands. The world kept turning, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was falling behind it. Friday afternoon sunlight streamed through Sarah's window, soft and golden. Her phone lay flat on the table, the screen lit with an incoming call. Malcolm Carter. She inhaled, picked up. "Hey, Malcolm." "Hey, Sarah. Appreciate you taking the time." His voice was smooth, low, a bit hesitant, like someone used to figuring things out on his own. "No problem at all." "Rachel said you had some questions?" "Yeah, I run this little online store, vintage gear mostly. We've grown a bit and I don't know. I think I've hit a wall. I've been winging it so far, but I know I need help if I want to grow." Sarah leaned back in her chair. Her fingers moved instinctively toward the notebook she'd been carrying all week. "What kind of help are we talking? Systems? Strategy? Socials?" He chuckled. "All of it?" She laughed, and it felt real. "Well, I can walk you through what I used to do for my clients, and we can see what fits." They talked for nearly an hour. Malcolm was open, thoughtful. He admitted he didn't know much about marketing, but he had a clear passion, storytelling through clothes. Every piece in his store had a history, and he lit up when he described them. Sarah found herself taking notes, sketching ideas, even suggesting a small campaign concept by the end of the call. "This is good," he said genuinely. "I haven't felt this clear about things in months." Sarah smiled to herself. "Same." They paused. "I mean, I lost my job this week," she said suddenly. "And my car died. So things are messy. But helping you just now, that felt right." "I'm sorry to hear that," Malcolm said, "but you've got something. You see things in a way that makes them easier to act on. That's rare." She didn't know what to say to that. "Would you want to consult for me?" he continued. "Nothing huge. Just a few hours a week to start. Paid, obviously." Sarah's mouth went dry. "Yes. Yes, I would." "Cool, let's do it then." After they hung up, she sat in the quiet for a moment. Not full-time, not benefits, not security, but a start. A yes in a week full of no. She opened her laptop again, added a new bullet to her growing "What I Actually Want" document. Help people build things they care about. That night, she called her mom, told her everything, the job, the car, the fear. Her mom didn't lecture or panic. She just said, "I'm proud of you for starting over. It takes guts, baby." Sarah hung up, lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. The world hadn't changed overnight, but she had. And maybe that was enough for now. Sunday morning in Atlanta moved slowly, like the city itself was trying to reset. Sarah stood barefoot on her balcony, coffee mug warm in her hands, wrapped in an oversized sweater she hadn't worn since college. The air was cool, the kind that made you breathe deeper without realizing. Below, the neighborhood stirred. A couple jogging with a golden retriever, someone raking leaves, the low hum of a lawnmower starting. It had been 5 days since everything fell apart. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't bracing for disaster. The call with Malcolm turned into a working partnership. They'd already sketched out a branding refresh and were scheduling weekly check-ins. It wasn't full-time, but it gave her momentum, and that was a currency she hadn't felt rich in for a while. She took a long sip of coffee and turned back inside. Her apartment was still cluttered but less heavy. The list on the fridge had grown. She had started writing affirmations on sticky notes and leaving them on her bathroom mirror. You are not behind. You are allowed to take up space. Be where your feet are. They sounded cheesy, but they helped. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jordan. Jordan, hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're okay. She stared at it, thumb hovering. They hadn't spoken since before the layoff. He always meant well, but their dynamic had become lopsided, her giving, him drifting. She had poured so much of herself into keeping him calm that she forgot to check if she was okay. Not anymore. Sarah, hey, I'm figuring things out. Just need some space to stay focused right now. Hope you're good too. She hit send before she could overthink. Boundaries, another form of self-respect she was finally learning. By mid-morning, she was curled up on the couch, laptop open, sketching out content ideas for Malcolm's brand. She felt sharp, engaged, like her brain had finally come back online after weeks of static. The door buzzed, a delivery. She opened the bag and laughed. A fresh notebook, a box of her favorite tea, and a card. Because you're building something and builders need tools. Rach. Sarah ran her fingers over the notebook's cover, heart full. Later, she lit a candle, turned on a lo-fi playlist and journaled for an hour. Not about the past, not about regrets, about where she wanted to go. She wrote, I'm not starting from scratch, I'm starting from experience. I'm not broken, I'm building, slowly, quietly, honestly. That evening, as the city lit up outside her window and the scent of sandalwood drifted through the room, she realized something. She didn't miss her old job. She didn't miss the version of herself who needed to be needed. What she missed, and was finally meeting again, was herself. Monday marked a full week since the layoff. Sarah woke up before the sun, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The city was still asleep, and for once, she didn't feel behind. She sat in silence, hands wrapped around a mug of tea, watching light slowly spill into the room. She opened her notebook and flipped to the latest page. Across the top, she'd written, 24 hours, what will you do with them? It had become her mantra, not in a pressure-filled, hustle culture way, but as a reminder, she didn't have to have it all figured out. She just had to own this day. Today's list was simple. Check in with Malcolm, update resume, walk to the community library. Call Rachel back right for 30 uninterrupted minutes. She could do that. By mid-morning, she and Malcolm were on Zoom, fine-tuning a pitch for a potential new collab. He asked if she'd ever considered consulting full-time. I used to, she said, but I forgot why I started. Well, he smiled, you're clearly built for it. After they logged off, Sarah walked to the library. The spring air was rich with magnolia and pavement. On the way, she passed a small storefront with a handwritten sign taped in the window, coming soon, something real. She stopped in her tracks and stared at it. No brand, no logo. Just those 3 words, something real. It felt like the universe had whispered back. At the library, she didn't rush. She sat in the corner by the window and started writing. Not for a client, not for anyone else, just for her. A short essay titled, What I Learned When It All Fell Apart. She didn't finish it, but the words came easier than they had in months. When she got home that afternoon, she found an envelope slid under her door. No return address. Inside, a gift card to a local cafe and a note that read, Sometimes the people around you see your strength before you do. Keep going. A neighbor. She didn't know who had sent it, but it didn't matter. Kindness had a way of finding her lately. Maybe because she was finally letting it in. That night she stood on her balcony again, the city humming below. She looked up, not at her phone, not at her worries, but at the sky. Stars barely visible but still there. She thought of her dad, of his words. Storms don't last forever, but you gotta move your feet. She had moved them. And now the ground beneath her felt like hers again. Not perfect, not painless, but real. And for the first time in a long time, the next 24 hours felt like a gift, not a punishment.